In this video, we're going to be reviewing some basic skills to get you ready for college algebra. We're going to be looking at multiplying binomials and factoring and solving equations using factoring. Okay, so the first few problems here, my directions say to multiply and then simplify. And remember that when we multiply two binomials, we can use the acronym FOIL, first, outer, inner, last, to help us with this. So first means the first two terms in each set of parentheses. So x times x is x squared. All right, the O stands for the outer. So the outer two terms are x and 2, so 2x. I stands for the inner two terms. So 3 times x is 3x. And L stands for the last two terms in each set of parentheses. So 3 times 2 is 6. And then we can combine these middle two terms, x squared plus 5x plus 6. Now you probably can do that in your head without having to write down the second step, and that's fine. Okay, problem 2, notice that we have a subtraction sign in here, so you have to be careful with that. First two terms multiplied together give me x squared. The outer two, 1 times x. I can write as 1x, or you can just write it as x if you want to. The inner two terms would be minus 6x, and the last two terms multiply to give me negative 6. Combining those middle two terms, I have x squared minus 5x minus 6. Okay, problem 3 and problem 4 are here for us because later on we're going to do some really long math problems where these type of things are going to show up, and it's just a little part of a great big math problem, but this is where students usually make the mistake. This x plus 4 quantity squared means x plus 4 times x plus 4, and it helps to write that out. So take the time to write that out, and you can see that you're going to have two binomials multiplied together, so use the FOIL method just like we did on the first two problems. First, outer, inner, last. Okay, so once you combine those middle two terms, your final answer is x squared plus 8x plus 16. All right, problem 4, I would like for you to try to do on your own, so pause the video, do that, and come back and check your answer. And there's your answer for problem 4. Okay, the next set of problems, my directions tell me to factor, and remember that I can use FOIL to check my answer. First of all, what I want you to notice with these problems is these are what I call simple trinomials. There is not a coefficient here in front of this x squared term. If I know that this is a simple trinomial, then I can factor this into two simple binomials. If it can be factored, it's going to factor to look like this. Now what I want to do is find two numbers that multiply to give me 14. Okay, so factor pairs of 14 are 1 and 14, 2 and 7. So these are numbers that multiply to give me 14, but I also want those numbers to add to give me positive 9. So that means I'm going to be using the 2 and the 7. So x plus 2 times x plus 7 is my answer. And I can always check this by foiling. And I can see that that checks out. Okay, problem 6. Again, this is a simple trinomial because there's not a coefficient in front of this x squared term. There's not 2x squared or 3x squared. It's just x squared. So it's a simple trinomial. So I know that this can be factored into something that looks like this. So here I'm looking for factor pairs of 15, 1 and 15, 3 and 5. Now I want the numbers to multiply to give me 15 and add to give me negative 8. So if I need the two numbers to add to be negative, that means that both of these numbers over here have to be negative, right? When I multiply these two numbers together, I can get 15. And when I add them together, I want them to get negative 8. So I'm going to be using negative 3 and negative 5. So x minus 3, x minus 5 is my answer. Okay, problem 7, I have x squared minus x minus 12. If you need to, you can put a 1 here to help you with this. Again, I have just a simple trinomial. If it can be factored, it's going to be factored into 2 simple binomials. So here I'm going to look for factor pairs of 12. Now, I really don't have a 12 here. I actually have negative 12. So I want 2 numbers to multiply to give me negative 12. That means one of the numbers has to be positive and one of the numbers has to be negative. And if I want these numbers to add to give me negative 1, then that means my bigger number over here has to be the negative. So what 2 numbers multiply to give me negative 12 and add to give me negative 1? It's going to be 3 and negative 4. So x plus 3, x minus 4. And one thing I want to point out here is that if you wanted to write this as x minus 4 times x plus 3, that's perfectly fine. My math lab does not care which order you put that in. So let me give you a minute to pause here and try and do problem 8 on your own. And there is your answer, x plus 7 times x minus 5. In this example, we have another simple quadratic because my leading coefficient here is 1. So if this can be factored, it's going to factor into something that looks like this. I need to find factor pairs of 10. So there are all my factor pairs. And notice that even though all of these multiply to give me a positive 10, none of them add to give me the negative 3 that I need for that middle term. So this cannot be factored. And sometimes you will see this referred to as prime.